Now we're going to be looking at technology and the ways that technology can be used in both helpful and potentially harmful ways in a relationship. So just a reminder that you participating in these videos is very important. So be ready. We're going to be asking a lot of questions. So be ready to reflect on those and kind of come up with your own answers for these questions. So, how often do you use the internet or social media to communicate with people in your life? How many messages do you think you send and receive per day? One study from 2018 said that the average American sends and receives 94 messages per day. How do you think you compare to that statistic? Here are a couple of common and popular social media apps. Do you use any of these? Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Tinder, and Messenger are some of the common ones. Do you use any of these, or do you have any that are your own personal favorites that you use a lot? What are some reasons that you use them? Why is that fun for you or useful to you? Whether you use one of these or whether you use a different one, why is that useful to you? And are there any ways that someone could use your favorite app or social media in a potentially harmful or dangerous way? We know that Snapchat is a very popular one among a lot of people. So let's take a little bit of a look at that. Why is it so popular and why is it fun and why is it useful? Do you use it? And if you do, why do you use it? Do you enjoy it? Often people say that they enjoy messaging their friends, sending photos to their friends, building up their streaks, adding to their stories, using the filters. It's got a lot of really fun features. A lot of times people say that it feels less awkward to ask for someone's Snapchat than to ask for their phone number. So it can be a good way to kind of connect with new people. A lot of people use it. It's very popular. Lots of people are on it. So it's a really good way to stay connected with a lot of different people who we may not be connected with on other forms of social media. What about Instagram? Why is that one useful? Do you use it? And if so, why? Often people say that they enjoy the memes. They like that they can post their own photos either on their main page or to their stories. They can save their stories on their main page. And it's a really good and useful way to share their lives and the things that they're interested in and the things that they're up to with friends and families and other people in their lives. People can also use it to message their friends, and it's a really easy way to follow maybe topics or people or role models or celebrities or things that they're interested in. Are there any ways that somebody could use these apps in potentially a harmful or a dangerous way? Some common ones. People might use them to send mean or hateful messages to other people, or they might try to pressure someone into sending photos that maybe they're not comfortable with sending, especially maybe on Snapchat where we know that those photos can disappear. Also on Snapchat, somebody might use the Snap Maps feature to monitor someone's location and try to find them, maybe if that's not somebody that they want following them or trying to find them, or that can maybe feel very uncomfortable. Just as a note, we can turn that setting off using ghost mode or by just turning our location off entirely, or we can also choose a setting where we only allow a few people that we trust to see our location. So that's some helpful information in case you didn't know that. Other common ones might include like catfishing, making fake accounts, pretending to be somebody that they're not, maybe making accounts that are very hateful, like accounts that are set up just to be mean or hateful to someone. Bullying can also be pretty common. So there are some risks involved in using technology, and there's also lots of very, very positive ways to use it. So we shouldn't have to completely give it up in order to be safe. But we do need to find ways for us to navigate these different types of social media in ways that are going to be safe for us. So whether you use Snapchat a lot or Instagram or something entirely different, it is helpful to be able to understand what those risks are, because the more we understand them, the easier it is for us to be safe while we're using technology. It can also be helpful for us to come up with ways to keep our own selves as safe as possible as we're navigating technology. And those answers might look different for different people. And that's completely fine. The important part is that we're thinking about it and that we're understanding what those risks are, and that we're coming up with our own ways to stay as safe as possible as we're navigating the internet and technology. So, we are going to look a little bit at digital dating abuse specifically. So, specifically, technology in the context of a relationship. So, we're going to have you guys watch a video in a minute, and we want you to think about some things that are happening. This is going to be specifically through technology, things that are happening maybe that look like they could be harmful behaviors or red flags. So the video is linked. It's called The Signs. As you watch the behaviors, think about what you notice that seems like maybe behaviors that are red flags to you. And think about whether these types of behaviors are things that happen to people in real life or not. So pause this and then click the link to this other video. It's going to take you to another video, watch that, and then come back and we'll kind of talk about some of the things that we noticed in that video. Okay, so by now you should have watched the Signs video that is linked. So what were some things that you noticed? Maybe write those down, or if you have somebody you're watching this video with, talk to them about it, about things that you noticed that seemed like maybe red flags or unhelpful or harmful behaviors. And then talk about whether or not those seemed like things that maybe do happen to people in real life. So, some things that we noticed watching this video, we noticed a lot of manipulation and jealousy happening in this video. The boyfriend got upset at her talking to her classmate about a school project. He took her phone without asking her and was really using that to kind of manipulate and use jealousy against her. He also seemed to try to be pulling her away from her friend Ashley, getting very defensive when she mentioned her friend. One thing that we noticed was that they said, "I love you" very, very early in the relationship. Happy 1 week anniversary, I love you. That's not to say that relationships that move quickly are inherently going to be unhealthy or abusive. But we did notice in this video that later on, he used that against her to try to manipulate her into sending photos that she wasn't comfortable with by saying, "You would send those to me if you loved me. You said you loved me." Manipulating her, threatening to break up with her if she didn't do these things that she was uncomfortable with. And then not only that, but he posted those photos on the internet when she was not okay with that. One other thing we noticed in this video was him using very possessive language throughout the video. He said things like, "She's all mine," or hashtag "mine forever," or "I just wanted to show you off." He used a lot of unhelpful language toward her. He also told her she was overreacting and that she was being pathetic when she reacted to the harmful behaviors. So those were kind of some of the major red flags that we noticed. Is there anything that you noticed that we didn't mention here? So we want to, just so that we're on the same page, the definition that we are using for digital dating abuse as we go throughout this presentation, this video, is anytime someone is using technology as a weapon to cause harm to a person that they're in some type of relationship with, especially when they're trying to gain power and control over their partner through technology. So abusive behaviors are all about power and control. So when we're looking at technological abuse or digital dating abuse, that's kind of what we're looking for. So they might be doing that by using technology to spy on their partner, harass them, control them, embarrass them, manipulate them, those types of things. So how common do you think that this specific type of abuse is? We know that about 1 in 4 teens in a relationship say that they've been called names, harassed, or put down by their partner through social media and texting. Does that surprise you? Did you think that the real number was higher than that? Did you think it was lower than that? And how does this seem in your experience of your friends' relationships or people that you know? Does it seem like about 1 in 4, or do you feel like the number of people in your life is more than this or less than this? We know that it happens a lot. We know that it's very, very common and that lots of people are going to have to deal with it. And so that's why we spend a bit of time looking at this type of abuse specifically, because we know it's very common and a lot of people are in situations where they're dealing with this. So take a minute and think about this question. What do you think is the difference between cyberbullying and digital dating abuse? Think about that. Maybe write that down or talk about that with someone in the room with you. We're going to switch gears just a little bit, and we are going to look at one very specific type of harmful or abusive behavior that can happen through technology in a relationship. We're going to look at harassment. So what is harassment? If you had to come up with a definition, what would you think about? What would you come up with? So again, maybe write this down or talk about this with somebody. What's a good definition that you think harassment could have? So we're going to look at a couple different definitions. When we look up harassment in the dictionary, we get a slightly different definition with each different dictionary that we use. So I'm going to pull these up and we're going to read through them. So here are 5 definitions for the word harassment. We have aggressive pressure or intimidation, the act of systematic or continued unwanted and annoying actions of one party or a group, including threats or demands, creating an unpleasant or hostile situation, especially by uninvited and unwelcome verbal or physical conduct, disturbing, pestering, or troubling repeatedly, and unwanted, unwelcome, and uninvited behavior that demeans, threatens, or offends the victim. So what you can do now is maybe pause the video and take a few minutes to talk about what types of things, common threads or common themes that you see in all 5 of these definitions. What are some things that you notice that these definitions have in common? So pause the video, think about that, write that down, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so what are some things you came up with? Some things that we noticed. All these behaviors are unwanted. They're typically seem to be kind of aggressive. They're usually persistent and repeated over time. Typically, harassment's not a one-time event. It's possible for it to be, but typically we see it repeated over time. And it's never a positive experience for the person who's being harassed. So think about this question. Is there a difference between flirting and harassment? And what is that difference? Flirting is typically reciprocated with both people are participating and enjoying it and kind of both flirting with each other, whereas harassment is typically very one-sided. It's just one person doing the action and the other person just kind of either ignoring, maybe saying stop, that type of thing. Very much more one-sided. So we are going to now have you pause the video and watch this video, Textual Harassment, that is linked. So go ahead and watch that video, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that video just a little bit. Okay, so you should have watched that video now. So think about some of these questions, and if you need to pause the video again and talk about this with someone or write these answers down, please do so. What are some activities that he was interrupting during her day? We noticed that he interrupted her sleeping, her time with her family, her school, her walk to school, her practice, time she was spending with her friends, even going so far as to say, I see your lights on, I'm coming over, and her getting ready for bed. Would you describe this person as abusive? Or if not, how else might you describe him? Maybe lonely, desperate, clingy, not understanding boundaries. If she wanted to stay in this relationship, what are some things she might do? Maybe she wants to talk to him about her boundaries or come up with a good compromise like, I have practice at this time, I'll text you when I'm done, or something like that. Or does she have any other options? Maybe she would choose to end the relationship or ask to take a break or take things a little more slowly. Harassment doesn't always seem too serious, but it can escalate into more unhealthy levels of jealousy and anger. And these types of controlling behaviors are a red flag to future relationship issues. So we're going to stop here and we're going to come back and talk about another type of behavior that often students encounter through technology.